Hi guys, today we're going to do something a bit different to usual. We're going to have a chat for about life experiences. Today is going to be based upon pregnancy and childbirth because Antonia has been asking some questions about what, Antonia?
What your pregnancies were like and what, like, just what they're like and how you coped.
So, Antonia is one of 4 children, being the youngest one, so her story comes last. First pregnancy was when I was 16. Was an accident, was not planned. A lot of people weren't happy about me becoming pregnant at 16. I can't say I regret being 16 at the time, but being pregnant at 16. But I wish I'd have waited a few years. Nick's pregnancy went quite smoothly. With only being 16, I was only suffering with morning sickness for only first couple of months.
What's morning sickness, Mum?
Morning sickness, good question. Although it is called morning sickness, the sickness can actually happen any time during the day, from the minute you wake up to the minute you even go to bed, not just at mornings, but it is purely sickness.
Why is it called morning sickness then?
Not a clue. It's a good question.
Okay.
Don't understand that one myself, but yes, you are just feeling sick all the time. So yeah, I suffered with morning sickness for about the first 3 months with him. I craved with Nicholas double-deckers.
Why?
You just get craving when you're pregnant, and with him it just happened to be double-deckers.
Oh, okay.
Chocolate bars.
Oh.
Yeah, wasn't too bad at the time. I was still doing a lot of walking around because I was doing a computer course at the time, so I had to walk about 2 miles from the bus stop to the actual place where I was studying, so at least I was able to walk the chocolate off, so that worked quite nicely. Nicholas was I went into labour 9 days early with him from the date he was due. My backaches started at around 11 p.m. one night, but it really kicked into gear, the pains, at about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was literally just pacing the floor at home. Woke my dad. Wasn't hard to do. So I got to the hospital for about 6 a.m. with Nicholas.
That's early.
It was early, but I'd been awake half the night anyway, so time was of the essence, it didn't matter. I was having gas and air as the pain relief. It's like they give you at the dentist, laughing gas as they call it. It just helps them take the pain away. Takes the edge off the pain.
Oh, so it makes you numb?
A little bit, yeah. It makes the pain's a little bit numb.
Okay.
So I started having gas and air with him at about 8:30. The midwives decided that my water still hadn't broken. They thought that they should try and break my waters my body decided no, that's not going to happen. Just the thought of them breaking my waters was enough to say, right, that was it, my waters went very quickly after that.
That's good.
It was, yes. I didn't like the idea of them breaking them at all at the age of 16, no. It was one of them feelings that you wouldn't want to have to deal with. So, at this point, somehow, the gas and air had come unattached from the wall, unknowing to me.
Well, it has to be.
It's all attached. Yeah, it's all attached to like the cylinders, but mine had come unattached. Don't know how, but it had. So for the next hour and a bit of my labour and actual giving birth, I had no gas and air. But I think that was quite okay because I think I was in enough relief at the time. I didn't need any more. It was an experience and a half, the effects from that. So at 9:34 a.m. I finally delivered Nick. He came out quite weirdly. He had his hands tucked, so his elbows were pushed out.
Like this.
Yeah, but the elbows were a bit more out. So I tore and had to be stitched back up. That was probably more painful than actually giving birth to him. He weighed... Oh, sorry?
What, they had to cut you up?
No, they had to stitch me up.
Why?
Because Nick had torn me internally.
Is that why you're so weird?
Yeah, that's why I'm weird. Excuse my daughter. No, he weighed £6 14 ounces, 9 days early, and I was still age 16 when I had him. Stayed in hospital for 3 days just to get into a routine with him. Obviously I hadn't slept anything the night of my the morning of my labour, so the midwives helped me out by having him the first night in the nursery so I could try and get some sleep. But that was quite a nice experience with only being 16 to have that help on hand from the midwives. I had got help on hand at home to a degree, but it was a bit harder at home. But we soon got into our own little routine. So, yeah, next one was Martin. Well, where do we start with him? I didn't suffer with morning sickness with Martin, really. Probably only for a couple of weeks.
That's good.
It was. What with having Nick to look after, young, yeah, I didn't need morning sickness. Did not need it. So his wasn't too bad of a pregnancy. The usual swollen ankles, the backache.
How old was you when you had Martin?
When I had Martin, I would have been 19. Yeah, it's 19 when I had Martin.
3 years later.
Well, 2.5.
Oh.
There was actually 2.5 years between your brothers. So yes, it was nice not to be having morning sickness with a 2.5-year-old. With Martin, I craved strawberry milkshakes.
Tasty but weird.
Why weird? Strawberry milkshakes, what's weird about that?
Why would you crave them?
And it was just what I wanted to drink all the time. Strawberry milkshakes. That was that one. So yeah, his pregnancy was a lot easier, just backache, swollen ankles. The doctors and midwives thought that he was going to be a lot bigger than Nicholas was when I had him. I was big is an understatement. I was wearing clothes that were used when my mum was pregnant with twins. I was huge. So, yeah, didn't know what weight I was looking at, but they did say it would be probably about £8. I went into labour with Martin 4 days early. That started around 3 a.m. with
spooky hour.
spooky hour. My waters didn't break quite so gushingly this time, they trickled. So it was almost like having a wee. Continuously, on and off, for a while, from 3 a.m. I got to the hospital via ambulance for Martin. So yeah, generalised backache. Not too bad a labour. Got to the hospital, was put on gas and air again this time. Did not come unattached with Martin's birth.
Good.
So I had that all the way through, luckily. I had Martin at 8:43. So my labour was only just over 5.5 hours this time. Not as bad, obviously I got some sleep that morning, so I was a bit more awake with it. Martin, his weight, doctors had said I'd be looking at about an 8-pounder. Well, he actually weighed £6.14, identical weight to Nicholas, but I was obviously carrying double the amount of water. The size of me, so it was quite nice to not have to struggle with it being a lot bigger of a baby. But his weight did shock everyone, and I mean everyone, including me, because I was expecting it to be a lot heavier. Only stayed in hospital for 6 hours with Martin. Wanted to get home, get into a routine with both the boys together as quickly as I could, rather than getting into a routine with Martin in the hospital, coming home a couple of days later, whatever, to have to get into another routine with two of them. I just wanted to get straight into it, one routine.
Did Nick want to play with Martin?
He did a bit, yes, with his age, because he didn't understand at first that Martin wouldn't play. All Martin would do is sleep, cry, feed.
Just like you.
So yeah, he did want to play with his baby brother.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but quite nice with the age gap to have them as close as they were. Third pregnancy with Koby. Well, yeah, his pregnancy wasn't as easy, but wasn't overly too hard. There was a 6-year difference from having Martin to having Koby. I had got into a new relationship, so it was a total different way at the time. Koby, I did suffer morning sickness all the way through the pregnancy. To the point the doctors actually put me on anti-sickness tablets to try and help me out. Anti-sickness tablets to try and help you stop being so sick all the time. So it's like travel sickness tablets, but for morning sickness. So I was on those while pregnant with Koby. Koby, I didn't actually have any cravings, but I did go off things with him. The biggest thing I went off was the smell of coffee, which was fine for me because I don't drink coffee. But at the time, I would get up in the morning and obviously make Russell's drink. And he drank coffee. So I was getting up and I couldn't even open the jar of coffee.
Couldn't you do it then?
Well, it's your dad. Need I say more? I couldn't even open the jar of coffee. The smell was horrendous to me at the time. So it did come to the point your dad had to make his own coffee in the morning.
Good.
Because I could not do it. I could not even go near him if he had coffee in his hand. It was horrid. But I've never liked coffee, but the smell has never got to me that bad, ever, until I got pregnant with Koby. So yeah, no cravings on this time, so that wasn't too bad. I got to 2 days before my due date, evening, and Russell was actually on the phone. I got up to go upstairs about 11 o'clock. Next thing I know, my waters go on the floor. He was still on the phone in the other room. Hadn't known nothing had happened. I'd gone up to the toilet, sorted myself out, come back down, cleaned up, and then told him what had happened. Well, he had to get the two eldest to a family member where they were going to be while I was going into hospital. So he did eventually get off the phone after laughing with his brother about it all and decide, okay, ring the family member, let's get the kids sorted out. Did that, rung the hospital. My waters had gone, but that was it. There was no pains, nothing. So they said, leave it for a while, go to bed, try and get some sleep. Okay. We went to bed, couldn't settle. I think we'd been in bed about half an hour. And that was it, the contractions started.
What are contractions?
It's the pains. It's your stomach muscles contracting.
Oh, like you have a stitch?
No, a lot worse than that, Antonia. It's like a cramp, but even worse than that. It's the stomach muscles moving the baby down, ready to give birth. Okay?
Yeah.
So that started after we'd been in bed literally about half an hour. So at about 1:30 in the morning, I'd been on the phone to the midwives, yep, come to the hospital, get yourself in. Okay. So we're going. Hospital's about 20 miles away. So we're going down the motorway. Russell's not caring, it's early hours in the morning, flashing the lights so that people are aware we're in a rush. All the contractions I'm having, I am biting the seatbelt. Thankfully we had covers on them.
Literally?
Literally biting them, yes. Because it was the only thing I could do.
I bet it didn't taste nice.
To bear the pain. No, they didn't taste nice, but hey, it got me through that journey to the hospital. So we got to the hospital, rung the bell for the midwives. This is 2:05 in the morning. So he parked where the ambulance were for the maternity ward. Got the midwife, got me into the room. He went to move the car quickly. got back to the room at 2:10 in the morning. My body was in shock with how quickly Koby's birth was continuing. And it worked out that 10 minutes later, at 2:20, I had Koby. So I'd had no gas and air, only the seatbelt to bite as my pain relief to give birth to Koby. Thankfully, they did then give me the gas and air to get through the next part. So I was in more pain than I had been with the other two because of the speed of the delivery. My body had gone into shock, bruising came out, my hands because of obviously the pressure in the car. He came out fine. Koby weighed £7.11. So he was a bit heavier than the boys were, but was still manageable and easy enough to do with no more complications. So although there were no complications during the delivery of Koby, he got checked out a couple of hours later with me being at the hospital still, and his temperature had gone down. So just for precautionary reasons, they wanted to put him into an incubator at the side of my bed.
What's an incubator?
An incubator, it's like the plastic cot that they have, that they put the babies into, with a heated mattress inside. And sometimes you do have the lids on them also to help bring up temperature or whatever other reasons they'll put babies into incubators.
Like a chicken?
Different to an incubator for a chicken, but there are the similarities in the fact it's heated. The warmth for the eggs, in that sense, that's before birth, not after. So yeah, Koby had to go on the heated mattress on an incubator, in an incubator base, just for a while to see if his temperature could come up. While this was going on, Russell had left the hospital to go home, obviously to let all the family know and everything, so he didn't actually know that Koby was in an incubator until he came back to the hospital in the afternoon. It was just a couple of hours having to wait around for the hospital to be happy with his temperature, to be able to let me come home. Before they let me come home, they also wanted to make sure that he would latch on, because I did attempt to breastfeed Koby, the first one of the three that I tried. That was not successful at all.
Why not?
Your brother decided to clamp his mouth a bit too tight, and I ended up bleeding. So he went on the bowl, did go onto the bottle. But yeah, so it might have been quite an okay labour, but you know, aftercare, different matter, that's where he caused the problems. Typical Koby causes the problems afterwards.
When you took Koby home, how did Nick and Martin react? How did they interact?
Well, when I came out of hospital with Koby, the boys were at my sister's. So we went to my sister's straight from the hospital. They had been expecting us a couple of hours earlier, obviously, and were excited to see him. But they'd got a bit fed up of waiting because of him being a pain in the bottom. The boys didn't actually come home with us that night. My sister kept them so that we could just have a night at home with Koby. And the boys seemed to be okay with that. To them it was a treat. They were stopping at their auntie's again for another night. They didn't seem too worried and bothered that they were being left out, because they were happy. They did come home the following day. I think they just fit into it all. They weren't really shocked by it or bothered by it, because their ages, Martin was 6, so Nick was almost 9. No, Nick was 9, Martin was 6. So their ages, we'd been able to talk to them so that they could understand what was going to happen and how much Koby would need attention more than them. So that was quite good in the fact of their ages and Koby coming home. So yeah, that wasn't too bad. They settled in with it quite well. Then we come on to this one. This dear madam. Well, where do we start? Where do we start with this one? She was awkward from the day I got pregnant. What more do I need to say?
I'm not awkward. Oh.
No. The very start of the pregnancy wasn't actually that bad. It started quite well. I didn't have morning sickness fully with her. I just had the nausea. So that was manageable. I craved the most loveliest thing out, but she doesn't agree. What did I crave, Antonia?
Beetroot and bacon sandwiches.
Bacon and beetroot sandwiches. If I ever had a bacon sandwich, it had to have beetroot on it, and she does not like the idea of bacon and beetroot sandwiches.
Nope.
But yeah, I loved them. Loved them. We got to about 6 months of the pregnancy, and I started to suffer with my hips. And ended up, from the doctors being sent to the hospital, I was suffering with SPD.
What's that?
What is called syphilis pubis dysfunction. Yeah. It basically is the hips are starting to come away in preparation for birth too early. So I was struggling in pain with my hips a lot more than any of the others. Never suffered it with the boys. No, this awkward one instead.
I'm special.
You're awkward. Told you, you're
Special.
awkward. So, syphilis pubis dysfunction, I ended up wearing a support bandage to help try and keep the hips supported under my clothes. And I did use crutches towards the end of the pregnancy as well with Antonia. With the SPD, it also meant that I wasn't allowed to walk very far or do much that would aggravate the hips. So it was a lot of rest for me, for once. Russell didn't like that as much because it meant he had to do a bit more than normal, because I was just so used to doing.
Always be lazy.
I was just habit that woman of the house, you do what you need to do, you get on with it. But I had to slow down and stop doing some of the stuff I did. Well, we got to Antonia's due date. It came and went. No twinges. Nothing.
Just a weird one.
So we waited and we waited. The midwives did a check-up on me after a couple of days later when I was due to go and see them, and booked me in for a sweep.
What's that?
A sweep is just where they check over the cervix.
What's a cervix?
It's part of your body, Antonia, when the baby comes.
Oh, okay.
So they booked me in at the hospital for the sweep. Did not like the sound of that one little bit, or the thought of it. Luckily, 6 days late, the day before they wanted me to go to have the sweep, my labour started. 5 a.m. in the morning.
On the best day ever.
5 a.m. pains started. So we got hold of family members that were going to come over and look after the 3 boys for us, because obviously it was a bit early to get them out of bed. We left our house after speaking to the midwives at 6 o'clock, after getting everything sorted that I needed to take. No sooner had we got into the car, my waters broke.
Yeah.
Contractions came fast, and I mean fast and painful. We were due to go to the same hospital as the boys, 20 miles away. So we phoned the midwives, explained my waters had gone, how the contractions were, and between us and the midwives it was decided we didn't think I'd make it to the hospital 20 miles away. So they diverted me to the local hospital that was around 7 miles away instead.
So I went to a different one.
So you did, we went to a different hospital with you and the boys, yes. So we're travelling down to the hospital, not a problem. Early morning again, Russ is flashing the car lights to let people know we need to get through, because we enter traffic lights and red lights, and he's like, don't care, we're just going. We're going through, we don't care. Got to the road we needed to get onto a mile away from the hospital to find it shut. It was roadworks. We had to go back on ourselves about a mile the opposite way. At this point, Antonia's head is crowning. I didn't tell Russell, because I knew he would panic more than not knowing it was happening. He would take his concentration off getting me to the hospital. So we got to the hospital and he puts the car in the bay, not a problem. Didn't pay at that point for the parking. He went straight to going at the midwives and a wheelchair. By the time they got to the car with the wheelchair, 2 midwives and Russell, a certain little girl had decided she was out. I'd given birth in the car on my own. Nobody with me. So when the midwives got to the car, I told them I'd had the baby.
See, I said I'm special.
Russell was not allowed in the car. He got pushed out the way by the midwives. I got one midwife in the driver's side and the other at the side of me at the door. They obviously got Antonia, cut the cord, wrapped her straight into the hospital. We didn't know what she was, whether she was okay. We knew nothing about her at this point. They just got her out and got her straight inside. This was 6:40 in the morning. So it was a chilly morning, the time of year as well that she was born. It was the cold weather, obviously being October. So they rushed her into the hospital, got me out of the car, into the wheelchair, rushed me up and rushed me in, got me into the labour room. We eventually then found out we've got a little girl.
Yay.
she'd decided again to be such a speedy delivery that again I become bruised. She was also bruised from the speed of the delivery. She had a bruise mark around the head from the continual trying to push in and out.
Is that why I have bumps here?
No, nothing to do with why you've got bumps there. She weighed £7 9.5 ounces. So she was lighter than Koby was, but more speedy than Koby. My body did go into some shock with the delivery, but not as bad as Koby. It was more of the bruising for me and Antonia with her birth. She again had to go into an incubator for her temperature, more as a precaution straight away because of having delivered outside in the car park of the hospital. So we laugh about it now. Her delivery on her birth certificate. What does it state, Antonia, of where you were born?
In a car.
No,
In a car.
in transit. Because she was born in the middle of nowhere as such, rather than in a specific hospital or place. She's in transit.
I'm proud of it.
Your dad wasn't proud of it. He had to get the car valeted. It was disgusting. It was filthy. So yeah, the car was filthy. Russell decided he had to get the car clean somehow, some way, before picking us back up from the hospital. That's just not a job I'd have wanted to do.
Don't we have the license plate of what car I was born?
We do have the spare licence plate of the car you were born in, yes. You have your own memorabilia of the car that you were born in. We have it. That's just for you. Russell did manage to get the car clean, thankfully. Didn't go the best, but that's another story for him to tell, because obviously I wasn't there. But yeah, this one was definitely the birth that you remember the most, with being so quick, so rushed, born in a different place to all her brothers. Throughout the 4 pregnancies, we only with Koby did we find out what we were having. With Nick and Martin I didn't, Koby we did, Antonia we didn't. We felt that with knowing what Koby was, it took some of the elements away from the birth, because there was no surprise after I'd had him to be told what he was.
Were Nick, Martin and Koby happy that they got a sister?
They seemed to be, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we decided with Antonia not to find out, and it made it a nicer experience, I think, with the anticipation of what was she gonna be. Have you got any other questions? No.
Nope. Actually, yes, I do. Does it hurt if when you get the cord thing, whatever it's called, cut?
When the umbilical cord's cut?
Yeah.
No, you don't feel it.
Oh.
You don't feel that at all.
That's it. I don't have any more.
Okay. I think that's where we'll leave it today. If you do think of anything that I've come across but not been clear about, comment. I'll answer any questions about anything that I can, if I haven't already done so in the video. thank you all for listening. I know it's dragged on a bit today. And we'll hope to bring you some more life experience talks over the next few weeks, few months. So give us a subscribe if you've liked it. Give us that like if you've enjoyed the video and want to see more. And we'll be back with you soon.
Bye.
Bye for now.